Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Kevin and Bean Show. It's the world-famous KROQ 106.7 KROQ, and it's time for our breakfast with Radiohead. Say hello to the guys.
We got Johnny, guitarist, keyboardist for the band. Ed O'Brien, guitar. Phil Selway is here on drums. Colin Greenwood, the world's best bass player. And of course, Tom York, who's been known to play a little bit everything and sing for the band. Radiohead is here. That's quite a welcome. Morning, you guys. How are you?
Good morning.
Nice to see you. You know, you're 1 week too early to be here for Governor Schwarzenegger. How about that, huh? This time next...
Has he won, has he?
Well, in a week.
Yes, pretty much.
Pretty much,
He's won,
yeah.
yes.
Pretty much.
The Supreme Court decided, didn't they?
What do you guys think as you sit on your little island and you look at America? Is all of Britain laughing at us that Schwarzenegger is going to be our governor in a week? I mean, is it the craziest thing you ever heard?
Well, it's crazy that it's a fix by the Republicans, then, yeah.
Well, that's how it works. It's kind of tough for us to make fun of the Queen and stuff when we've got freaking Arnold running the place, you know? Well, it's fantastic to see you. How was your weekend? How were your Southern California shows from your perspective? You enjoy them?
What's the difference between playing like the Hollywood Bowl and doing a small set up here like this morning with just a couple of you? Do you prefer one or the other, or just...
It's a lot cheaper doing this.
Sure. And easier on you.
They pay later.
Right, sure.
We talked, of course, I don't know if you've met your fans that are here today at the Capitol Records Tower, but we've... How many of you were at either the Hollywood Bowls or the San Diego shows this weekend?
Wow, pretty much everybody.
And how many of you sneaked in because you didn't have a ticket, you got a job as a waiter, or you climbed a fence? We talked to all of those people here this morning.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those sneakers.
Do you get any kind of a different vibe from that particular venue just because it is so famous and so storied? It's not like playing a theater that's been around since 1998 or something. It's the real deal.
I didn't realise quite how many people it was because it feels like a really small gig.
Yeah.
But it's like 18,000 or something stupid, which is insane because it doesn't feel like that. It's taken it out of us, hasn't it?
Yeah,
It wiped you out.
Yeah, you know, because it's LA. It's the full on. You know, you arrive and it's.
We really did have that, didn't we? We've had the full Hollywood fix.
Well, you know, fans of your band always get excited when you go on tour and then nervous that you're going to hate it and quit. So we're just always happy that you actually show up and you play and then you say you'll come back. That makes us feel great.
You should see the legal consequences if you blow it out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now, a lot of people around the radio station that went to the show this weekend were talking about the fact that you dusted off Creep for this show this weekend, which was a total surprise. And I only bring it up because I know you guys have had a kind of an odd history with that particular song where you did not play it for a real long time. What gets in your mind that, hey, let's crack that one open tonight?
Songs can just start sounding good. It's like we didn't play No Surprises for about 2 years. And then we tried it one night and it sounded good again. So it kind of comes and goes, really.
Is it great to be in a position where you have that much material to draw on now? Like when you're first starting out, you got an album and you play it all. Now you have, 7 albums. Yeah, twice, exactly. Is it great to have a lot of different songs to choose from, depending on what vibe you want, what feeling you got?
Yes.
Very good.
Good answer.
Don't do that.
No, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, when we do the set each night, it's different. And when we were touring Pablo Honey, it was, the same 12 songs plus a few B-sides, and it's more fun.
Sure.
You don't get bored. I mean, that's the thing for us. The reason why we sort of used to hate touring, or got to this extent, it was just the boredom factor. By the end of it, you're just,
I think sometimes because we come to the gigs that morning and we say, what do we want to play today? Yeah. And usually the list that we come up with reflects where we're at that day as well, which is quite interesting. I mean, the only reason that Creep occurred was because it felt like a really good thing to do that day.
Well, because Jim suggested it.
Oh, is it? It's your fault.
Way to go, Jim.
You know, we heard so much about when you were putting the songs together for the Hail to the Thief CD that you debuted a lot of them live on stage in front of people to kind of see how they felt, see how they went over, see if you liked them. Is that a regular occurrence for you? Is that something you do often? Is that something you're doing on this tour at all with new songs?
No, it isn't really, because I think what we do next is going to kind of take a lot of a different sort of method. It's going to be much more random. And this, we were working really fast. We wanted Hail to the Thief to be a fast, very much about performance. And so we had to go and rehearse it, and we had to, playing in front of people just meant you had to knock off the bits that didn't work. It was fairly obvious because people would just be looking at you with that look.
Speaking of that, do you notice people and how they're looking at you when you're playing? I mean, can you kind of look in their eyes and sometimes?
Sometimes.
The rest of you guys?
Yeah.
A lot of times we hear you can't see anything from up on the stage just because of the way the lights work out. You don't know whether folks are grooving on it or not.
Well, that was the thing about the Hollywood Bowl, because you can just literally see sort of the first 20 yards, and you can't see this. It's like...
Actually, the first 20 yards looks pretty much the same here at the moment.
It's the same place.
A lot of same faces.
I'm glad you brought that up. We should mention, if we haven't, that we're in this is a tiny room for an event like this. It's a historic Studio A here at Capitol Records in Hollywood, where some great music has been recorded over the last 60 years or so. And some great music will be recorded here this morning as the guys play a little bit later on KROQ. Shall we go out to the audience and get some questions from some fans for the band Radiohead this morning?
Yeah, who do we have out there first? Lightning, you got somebody there?
Yeah, we'll start right here.
All right.
How about you in the very front? Give me your name and your question.
My name is, actually this question was somebody else's, but I'm asking it because she's scared.
Thief!
Chicken.
My name is Afa. I'm actually in a band, and that's the reason for this question, is do you have any sort of advice for newer groups, I mean very new, that are trying to strive to do something different that's not quite what is commercial at this moment? You know, like, do you have any advice for how to go about making it when you're not like everybody else, which is what you are?
How do you say this politely?
Don't suck?
Yeah. I think at the moment the climate is very peculiar, but I don't think it's going to stay like that. Because as with all corporate entities, they tend to eat themselves whole and die out.
The climate is much tougher right now?
Yeah.
So wait 5 years and then try again.
At the first, you don't succeed. Do you feel at this point that you have any obligation to commercial considerations when you go in the studio to record a new record? I mean, you know you've got a label that is counting on making money off of you that year. Is that something that ever enters into your thought process?
No, because it never has. I mean, you know, the whole thing about this is...
I think it did for 10 minutes, actually.
Did it?
10
yeah,
minutes, yeah.
After Creep.
All right,
So,
yeah.
someone mentioned it briefly.
Yeah. It was, you know, it kind of reverts to what the question is that we started off as a band, like, you know, a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds just doing it for fun. And we played all sorts of different styles of music the first 4 years, 5 years.
Still do.
Still do. And that's what it was always, it's kind of always goes back to that. It always goes back to the rehearsal studio, you know, having a laugh. That's the core of it. So once you bring the other commercial considerations, we have managers who deal with that. That's what they're supposed to do. We don't, you know.
I think, Tom.
You're thinking how much better your job is than his, aren't you?
Yeah.
It is.
Do you think your music would be the same, say, on this current album if you weren't popular? If you were selling 15,000 copies of your albums, do you think this album would have turned out the same?
Never. You can't. I think the whole point with the music is that the audience is a vital part of how the music develops. I just don't think that. It's funny actually. Someone pinned me down at I was being pinned down quite a lot after the shows, and someone said, you know, I've been in a band for 10 years. It's going nowhere. I don't know what to do. You know, I write all these songs, and I'm like, well, do you play them to people? Do you give people tapes and CDs? No. Well, there you go. Because the whole point is you never develop. You never know what you're doing unless you have a relationship with an audience that tells you somehow or other. And that it doesn't dictate what you do next, but it makes you see it in another way. Otherwise, you're working in isolation, you know, which is pointless.
All right, who wants to hear this band play? How about that? Radiohead, KROQ.
On the
Famous KROQ.
So let's go back out to the audience. Who's next, please, for Radiohead here on KROQ this morning?
Yes. Name and question, please.
Hi, my name's Christine, and I'm from Los Angeles. This question is for Tom York. I was wondering, has having a child changed how you approach songwriting? And has it changed, in general, the way you see the world?
It certainly changed the way I see the world, yeah. Just because this is just really obvious, stupid stuff like you start thinking about the future and the monkeys that are in charge of that future. And that makes you very angry, but it also makes you want to do something about it.
About songwriting, does it?
Yeah, I think it did. Yes. Well, I was personally speaking, to be honest, going through a period of not quite understanding, for a few years really, not quite understanding what the purpose of what we were doing was. I'd actually asked the others, they know. And suddenly, kind of like, oh, okay, it was sort of fairly simple. It sort of seemed to simplify things a little bit. Yeah. Don't you agree?
Yeah. How many of the rest of you guys have kids?
That you know of.
That you know of, right? Having kids seems to be one of those things that everybody says exactly what it's going to be like, and then it always is. You never hear somebody say, yeah, it really kind of sucks, or yeah, it really didn't change things at all. It's always pretty much guaranteed that you're going to feel the way you're supposed to feel by the time it happens, I guess.
Maybe it's hormones.
That's probably what it is. All right, let's go back out for another question. Who do we have out there?
Hi, my name is Gil. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you guys for years of good music. Also, I'm a pretty good guitarist. Do you think you guys have an opening in the band?
Okay. I don't know. Do we have any?
I fancy a sabbatical for a couple of years.
No, but I have a serious question. For Tom, what was it like working with Bjork and PJ Harvey?
It was quite interesting because it was just coming out when I did both those sessions. It was just as we were finishing our Mammoth sessions with Kid A and Amnesia, and it was interesting to just walk into somebody else's working pattern or whatever you want to call it, and they were both sort of really relaxed, and it was a much more like, oh, all right,
there's another way to do this, you thought.
Yeah. Oh. But it was also nice just, not being responsible for what's going on. I did what I was told. I mean, you would, wouldn't you?
That's a good question. Thank you. He made reference to something that I wanted to ask you guys about, and that is there any opening in the band? Because I've read in interviews over the years where you've said that no one's replaceable in Radiohead. Do I read that to mean that if somebody leaves, that's it, end of the band, there's no going on to replace a member? That would not happen in your group?
Or does it depend on who leaves? I don't know.
We're kind of not old enough, really.
What do you mean? I'm old enough. Well,
I don't know.
What do you mean?
I mean, I ask because you see a band like The Who that's out there, and there's one guy who used to live next door to a guy who was in the band, still in the band, That's about the extent of the connection to the original group, but I was just wondering what it would take to still be called Radiohead. Would it take all five absolutely, no exceptions?
I think it probably would, yeah.
Okay.
Really. I can't see that
That guy right there wants to applaud.
Fair enough.
I can't really see how I can't really say how it could work at all, to be honest.
All right. Fair enough.
Who wants to hear another song from Radiohead? Shall we? At our breakfast? Guys, go ahead.
World famous KROQ.
Back out to the audience. Who's next, please? Breakfast with Radiohead on the world famous KROQ here this morning.
Hi, my name's Alicia, and this is a question for everyone in the band. What contemporary musicians or bands, besides yourselves, do you think are doing some truly unique and worthwhile music?
They're all sitting back and thinking.
Nobody wants to say Justin Timberlake, right? That's the problem here. No one wants to be the first.
I like some of the lights in his video.
Well, this is an opportunity for maybe somebody who's a little unheralded that you can spread the word on that we ought to know about.
Well, they don't have to be unheralded necessarily.
Just any name, just a name.
Okay, Square Pusher. Obviously, he doesn't get enough attention.
Madlib?
Madlib, well, you know Madlib, obviously. Don't you know Madlib? Madlib?
And Fortet.
Yeah.
People must know.
Stephen Malkmus and the Jigs.
Oh, Malkmus, yeah, man. That record,
It's genius.
That record, Pig Lib, should be a massive hit.
Yeah.
We just don't get it. We don't
Look at that
understand
and you
why.
say, I can't figure out why that's not a hit.
I just do not get it. I don't understand. I don't understand why Felix the House Cat, why that record wasn't a massive #1 record all the way around the world. I've got this obsession with all the records that should have been screaming hits but weren't.
It's a good thing you're not an A&R man.
Ooh, I'd be.
You know?
Ooh. Do you have a decent feel for your own band and your own music? What's going to be received well? Because it sounds like... No, not at all? Are you surprised by some of the things that the audience just reacts to crazy and you never thought they would?
Constantly.
How many songs do you guys know that you could play, theoretically? I'm not going to ask you to, but theoretically, that aren't your own? Like, when you're rehearsing, do you ever go, hey, let's do fill in the blank, and somebody else's song? Would you be able to do that?
One.
We've done about 3 or 4, haven't we, other people's songs?
Ever,
So-
yeah.
That's about it. So, in other words, if someone hired you as the cover band for
We'd
the
be
night, it'd be a short
shite.
set.
It would be terrible.
Thanks for coming, everybody. That's all we know.
Good night. Tom and Johnny are on the stage. It's Radiohead live. It's breakfast on the world famous KROQ.
Breakfast with Radiohead. Live on the world famous KROQ.
All right. Where are you in the audience here? There we go. Right here, Mr. Spam. Go ahead. By the way, how dumb do you have to be to walk around in 2003 with a shirt that says Spam on it?
Hey, you know, that's the #1 canned meat in the world.
Yeah, okay.
Get the hell beaten out of you, man.
You told him. All right, name and question, please.
This brought to you by no. My name's Rich. I read somewhere that one of you had said that you really hate asking or answering questions like, if you were an ice cream, what flavor would you be?
So everyone eats those.
So instead, if you were a berry, no, just kidding. During the early Radiohead days when Britpop was really huge in England, the media would constantly classify each new band as like the next big thing. How do you think Radiohead kind of avoided being thrown into that?
Well, I think you can only ever, a story's much more interesting when there's like two halves, isn't it? And it's like Oasis and Blur, really. So it's like you just want to be a part.
Very interesting.
Well, part of that, not part of that, really. So it's like
In other words, there was no one for you to be pitted against. That's what you're saying?
Well, I don't think that anyone would ever want to be associated with us anyway. So it would be like,
Well, we were kind of a non-story in the UK, really. I mean, they saw us as having had this hit over in America, and they thought we had for the first year and a half we had really bad press, and they thought we were just a lily-livered excuse for rock music and all this stuff.
I gurned my way through the set.
Yeah,
I particularly like that one.
It still haunts you, doesn't it?
Yep. I still do.
The
So.
same article as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Bastard.
Now, this is a difficult question for me to ask because so many people think so highly of your band. I just read an interview with David Bowie the other day where he said Radiohead's the greatest band in the world today. Okay. That's what he said.
Tom looks very surprised by that.
I don't expect you to agree with that because you're modest fellows, but is there someone who you think is the greatest band in the world today?
We're not really into bands. Except actually Malkmus and the Jigs.
I mean, is there someone who you think, because it seems like in this competitive world we live in, particularly in the music industry, there always has to be someone who's cover boy, white hot. No, not at all. You don't look at it as competition?
But I don't know, we don't listen to that sort of music a lot, do we really?
No,
I mean,
really.
there's the
I think the
problem,
Strokes record's going to be really good.
Yeah.
We played with them in Japan.
Yeah.
And they played a couple of new tracks from it, and it was awesome. It was, the tracks were just incredible.
I'm really into the Chili Peppers as well at the moment. I think that they've seen a lot, but like they're playing better now than they've ever done by times 10.
Yeah, and you can
the way that Chad plays the drums now and stuff is just, and they're obviously in such a good space, and the music's really joyful. It's great.
All right, who's next, please? Here at Capitol Records Tower, breakfast with Radiohead.
Hi, my name's Vanessa. I'm from Temple City. I have a very important question for you. How often do you guys call your mother?
How often do you call your mothers?
That's way too personal. Next.
All right, do you have a question up here? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Jill. This question is for Tom. Where do you think you would be if you never made it as a musician?
In a mental home.
That was quick.
He doesn't act like he's kidding either, by the way.
Who wants to hear another song from Radiohead? Shall we? At our breakfast?
This is KROQ.
I'm getting told that we just have time for just a couple of more questions, so we'll take 2 more. Yes.
Hi, I'm Kiri from Corona. My question is for the whole band. If you could date one member of your band, who would it be and why?
Sorry, that was one of them.
How unfortunate that one made the cut.
That's gonna haunt me now.
Well, we used to share rooms, so it's like me and.
You don't want to answer the question, man.
So no, but I mean, rather than that's.
Let me ask a couple questions about the future, because I read, and tell me if this is true, that you've recently signed a new record contract, or no? It's not true.
Wow, that was.
Who put that one in?
How much was it worth?
I think I read it in Q magazine that you just signed a new deal for a succession of albums. Is that not true?
Like 6 albums.
We've got some record company personnel and management here to answer that question right now.
Okay, so no, that's fine.
Nice try.
Any chance that you have so many songs that have never come out on proper albums or a box set collection or something? You have something like 30-something B-sides out there that none of us can afford to buy them all. Any chance that of a Radiohead collection at some point where you might give everybody an opportunity to buy those?
It's a great idea. Colin keeps talking about going through them and sorting them out. Colin,
I have done it. I've done it. Like Ed and I have done it. Like we've talked about it.
So yeah, we want to.
Done a track list.
Yeah, done it. Talked about it. Done it. Talked about it.
Yeah.
So it's potentially on the drawing board then.
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh yeah.
All right. And someone made reference earlier to the kind of phase that the band is maybe at the end of with these last 3 albums. And Tom, you said something about what you thought the next direction would be. Can you tell us anything more about that? About what you think the next record might sound like?
I think we're just going to sort of loosen up a little bit to the whole method in which we work. The way that people listen to music now is changing quite a lot anyway. And I think that for Radiohead, there's been too much pressure on the sort of album thing, and the level of scrutiny and lots of critics working themselves into a nice healthy little froth about bugger all, and I think we want to try and get away from that somehow. So by releasing records in other ways and just easing the pressure off and wandering off into the unknown again, really, because we kind of finishing this record for me personally. As an album, making the record was really fun, but when it got to the stage where it was an album and had to do it like an album and all that sort of shit, it nearly killed me. I couldn't take it.
Have you seen what the band Ben Folds 5 is doing, where they're releasing an EP every month or 2 online for their fans, rather than waiting and collecting songs and making an album out of it, because they figure it's nice to be able to write a song, record it, and get it out there to the people that want to buy it?
Kind of, that's sort of it, but not quite, is it?
But records are still exciting, and CDs are still exciting. So I don't know.
Ultimately, it should be. We don't want to sort of release stuff because we have to. I don't know. We'll see. We're confused.
We'll see. All right. Let's say 2 more questions.
I think they're telling us that we got to cut.
We're done. Let's say no more questions.
No, let's take 2 more questions.
Okay, 2 more. Great.
2 more. We got a good one right over here. Let's make it good.
Hi. I am Danielle. I'm from Cardiff, Wales. My question. I am. I was born there, and then I lived in Middlesbrough for about 6-7 years.
That explains
before we
it.
can tell it. Well, my question was, I was wondering, how do any of you deal with the emotional intensity that your fans feel for you and not just the music?
Personally speaking, I've got this thing now where I don't consider it my own, which sort of makes it a little bit easier. I have this running joke that it comes, it's beamed to you, and you get given it. This is Philip K. Dick's thing, He used to take loads of speed and believe he was there was an angel telling him the stories. I don't take the speed, but I've got the the
angel.
Yeah, and it's like I don't feel responsible for it in the way that I used to. I don't feel. Doesn't mean I disown it, but it's sort of like, well, it's sort of nothing to do with me. It's just my job, And the way that we work and when things happen, it's like, well, they happen because someone's decided that they're going to happen, and we're simply there to let it occur, which sounds it's the easiest way of explaining it, really, because you can bash your head against the wall for years, but ultimately you discover that all the best music happens by accidents, and those accidents are someone else pushing your elbow or whatever. They're not you.
That makes a lot of sense. By the way, do you guys want to see a fan who has a tattoo of the Kid A logo on her ass? Are you guys interested in that at all?
She said she was.
She promised to show it, so here we go. What's your name?
Delia.
Delia, how long have you had the tattoo?
For like a year.
Like a year. All right. Radiohead would like to see your ass, please.
Only Radiohead. You don't have to show the audience.
This must be KROQ.
It's the band. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. How about that?
Very nice.
Very nice.
All right, let's do one more. We have one last question here.
Hi, I'm Liz Smith from Montebello. My question is, other than your music, what do you love to do? Fetish or hobby? Every member of the band.
Did you say fetish?
Or hobby.
She did.
Or hobby.
Oh, I see.
Fetish
That's
or
what
hobby. Gardening.
Sleep.
Gardening?
Yeah.
There's a proper English lad right there.
Yeah.
Watch football on the TV.
And by football, of course, he means soccer.
Yeah, not your game.
Right.
I do.
Any other answers?
I've got a very small, ugly dog. I take him for long walks.
It's very nice.
Who wants to hear another song from Radiohead?
Well, this has been one of the all-time great breakfasts that we've been honored to be a part of here at KROQ. You know, we've been doing them for a long time. And the guys on this stage have been at the top of the wish list for a long time. We really wanted to do this for ever so long, and your fans appreciate it, and the people listening at home right now appreciate it. And it's terrific of you guys to carve out time on a day off to do something like this for us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to Radiohead, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
All the best.